Alright guys, so before we start learning anything new, before we start typing any more code, let's go ahead and figure out what all of this existing code is doing. So I already told you guys in the last tutorial, as soon as you run this project, right click and run, what's going to happen is it's first going to call your startup script right here. Now all this is doing is it's setting up your server, all the basic configuration settings for your server. It's telling it what port to listen to. In this case, as you can see, 3000, so that's why we need to go to this address for the home page. And then after that, after www.js is done, what it does is it kicks off app.js. So just like before, app.js is the core foundation of your Node.js project. So essentially, whenever a user comes to your website and makes a request, app.js is going to look at that request and, depending on the URL, figure out how to handle that response appropriately. So right now, whenever we just set up this project, we got two simple web pages. We got the home page, that's the one you're looking at right now, and I also showed you guys you got this other page called users. So let's figure out exactly the workflow of what happens whenever the user requests this users page. So what's going to happen is they say, hey, I want to go to users. So app.js says, okay, let me figure out how to handle that. So I'm going to scroll, and just like before, whenever we were learning about the connect framework, it's going to look at app, and this object is going to be responsible for determining exactly how to handle that request. So you see that we have two options right now, / and / users. This means home directory. Whenever they want to go to the home directory, call this object routes. Whenever they want to go to the users directory, which we did in this example, is just going to call the object users. Alright, so what's users? Well, if we scroll up here, users and routes, these are pretty much just other files. So users is going to require this middleware right here, and let's look at what that is right here. Users. And if they go to the index, it's going to call this little script. So in the case of users, what it did is it called this file, and all this file does, as you can see, as a response, it sends out respond with a resource. And that's why we got that respond with a resource. We can actually put something like I love pizza in here. And now when we run this again, the response would be I love pizza. So again, what's happening, and this is pretty much how we're going to build new pages in the future. Whenever we want to make a new page, we have to let app, this object, know about it. For example, we'll say like app use profile or something, whatever page we're making. And then we have to make a new route, which is the brains behind it. And our brains are going to be a little bit more complex than this, but for right now, the response will just send them this response. And also, typically, what's going to happen, instead of just sending a response right here, and we can actually see this in index. Let me go back to index right here. What the brains or your routes are going to do is it's pretty much going to render a view. Now these views are, like I said, the HTML pages. So in this case, it was rendering index, which is your index.ejs file. So let me actually put this in left and right, and you can see really clearly what's going on. So whenever the user requested the home page, what it did is it says, alright, where are the brains for my home page? In routes.index. What do you want me to do here? Well, I just want you to render the home page. So I'm going to display this home page. And obviously it just says welcome to whatever the title is, welcome to Express. And if we just want to change this to Bucky is awesome, then whenever we run that, that is why the home page would render Bucky is awesome. So that is pretty much the workflow. App.js handles the request, the brains, and the views. Simple enough. However, in the next tutorial, we still got to cover what all of this other code means. And it's actually really easy. So yeah, thank you guys for watching. I'll see you then.